Welcome to a special edition of the Purple Army podcast ahead of the playoff finals weekend. No need to adjust your sound settings, folks. You've got the dulcet tones of me, Ray Monaghan, in place of Ross, who's having a very rare night off. And joining me for this special edition is firstly Graeme Thompson. And joining me from Premier Sports, it's the man himself, Aaron Murphy. Hi Graeme, how are you?
I'm fine, Ray, how are you?
Murph, thanks for joining us, and how are you?
I'm great, guys. Thanks for having me on. I mean, it's maybe bad timing with some of the news today. You never want to hear any bad news, but pleasure to be on and to chat some hockey with you guys finally.
Well, I guess there's no sense waiting. We'll just go straight for the jugular and talk about the news that most directly affects the clan, and that's the news broke today that Ryan Finnerty, after a 4-year stint as the head coach of the Braehead clan, will no longer be returning. I guess I'll go to you, Graeme, first. What was your reaction to the news?
On one hand, I'm not surprised. We kind of thought, or certainly I kind of thought, that if this was probably going to be the last chance saloon in terms of the season for Ryan. I really wanted Ryan to win some silverware for the club, and when silverware I mean proper silverware, not a Gardner Conference trophy. And we got close before, but it just wasn't to be, and I just kind of sensed that this was probably the last chance. Maybe not even from the ownership's point of view. I think the fans, who by and large have been loyal to Ryan, I think they may possibly feel that a change is required. And sure enough, I think now that the season's over, I think that is very much the kind of thinking amongst the vast majority of the fan base. And certainly, I like Ryan. I've had a number of chats with Ryan over the time, and I've got a lot of respect for the guy and what have you. And it's sad. It's sad when it happens, but as I'm sure we're going to talk about, that's a sport, and it's a hard sport, and nobody knows that better than Ryan. So it's just a reality of the thing, of the way things work out. But just to finish off, I think the club were more than just a head coach change required to try and move things. I think this club has to make some significant changes in how it operates to be able to reach that next level. It's not quite as simple as just getting in a new head coach. So it'll be an interesting summer, that's for sure.
Oh, Murph, what was your reaction to the news regarding Ryan Finnerty's departure?
Well, I'm disappointed. You never want to see someone lose their job. And in my opinion, Ryan is one of the best guys around the league. He's always been very accommodating to the media. He's always been very generous with his time, generous with his space. Every time we rolled up there to do a game, he would invite us in, use his office, give us the Wi-Fi information. And you'd be surprised how important that is, and how sometimes that wasn't the case, but at other places. But Ryan, a smart hockey man. I know his attention to detail is very good, and I'm disappointed because I think he is a good coach, and I think he could have brought them some real silverware, as Graeme said, in the next few years if given the chance. But think about this, though, that article that came out in the paper there, one of your local papers there last week or 10 days ago, I saw it online, a link to it, where they gave him that, the dreaded vote of confidence to be all end all. If we don't make it to the finals weekend, it doesn't mean it's the end of the road. And when I saw that, I thought, well, that's a precursor. If they don't beat Dundee, I thought that could be the case because that vote of confidence thing, no matter what the sport is, it's always sort of the kiss of death. So I'm disappointed, and I think Ryan's a smart guy. He's a very good hockey man, and he will land on his feet and do very well no matter what it is he decides to do within the game, or if he decides to change pace altogether. But yeah, disappointed, but not surprised. It's a bad part of the business, but coaches, as the old saying, coaches are hired to be fired, and I know that Ryan would have known that going into the playoff series with Dundee.
Yeah, I mean, but combined with that article and listening to his sort of post-match audio last night, I think putting two and two together for me, I thought, I think we're not going to see Ryan Finnerty back at the Clan for next season. And I think after the sort of hectic start to the Clan's history, where it was sort of a coach in, a coach out, Coach Shea would stay, coach would then go a week later. It was a quite unstable time for the Clan in terms of coaches, and I thought he's really came in, he's steadied the ship, and he's really, really raised the bar, and he's set some very high expectations here at Braehead, and gotten so near yet so far to some really big accomplishments. But I don't think you can really write off what he's done. He's done an awful lot of work in such a long period of time. He's lasted a lot longer than sort of your average EIHL coach does. So I'm very sad to see him go, and as you guys have been saying, I would have liked to see him get a big trophy as well, just to sign it off, because he's almost sort of the nearly man when it comes to coaches here, and that's not something really he deserves to be associated with. He's a good coach and even better guy, and the same as you, whatever he decides to do next, I'm sure he will land on his feet, and wish him all the very best.
And I can tell you, knowing Ryan and having chats with him after victories and after defeats, and talking to him after, say, the Champions Hockey League victory, or talking to him after a big defeat down the stretch a few years ago for the league title, he wanted to win. I know every Braehead Clan fan that listens to your show will be hurting after the loss to Dundee, hurting after the start to the year that maybe set you back from even thinking about a league title this year. But he will be just as disappointed, and just as, he'll feel like he let himself, the fan base, the team, the ownership down, because Ryan Finnerty wants to win as much as anybody. So anyone who thinks the coaches and the players aren't hurting after a loss like that, trust me, Ryan Finnerty would have taken that to heart, and he would have been very disappointed that they didn't get you guys through to the playoff final weekend. So wish him all the best, and know that he would have been disappointed. But think about this, Hammond goes down at a tough time, and when you lose a key player like that, sometimes that's just bad timing and bad luck. The goaltending at the start of the season, there was all sorts of injuries, maybe some guys that didn't live up to expectations. So sometimes it's the luck of the draw. And you lose a guy like Hammond before a playoff fixture, it's bad luck, and there's not much the coach can do in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, we have a wee WhatsApp group and we talk about the games and that, and when I seen Mike Hammond getting helped off the ice, I put in the group is that the hopes for the season just went off the ice with him. I mean, Mike Hammond, he was just absolutely on fire at the time. He was scoring for fun. I think he was crazy, like 2.5 points per game at the time when he went out injured. Speed, skill, flair, creativity. He could create something out of nothing and do it at speed. A huge blow at the very worst possible time for the Clan, and maybe as it turned out, what hopes we had left for the season left the ice with him that night.
But that's been the Finnerty story, hasn't it? Just you think about how many hard luck stories we've got. Look at that night in Nottingham last season when we looked like, this league title might actually come our way, and then that very night we get Matt Keith out, we get, I think Scott Pitt was out for weeks. I mean, that just completely took the wheels off our season. We've kind of been dogged by that kind of bad luck, haven't we? So I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Somebody's broken a mirror at some stage somewhere down the line, and maybe now we've got 7 years out of the way. That's maybe we'll do some good luck now. But yeah. Pity how it's all ended, and I don't know, maybe a quick departure maybe is the best thing for Ryan and for the club and for the fans, and we get a chance to have lots of speculation and see what happens next.
Well, yeah, I think that kind of brings us on. Who could the next man possibly be? Murph, who would you like to see in charge of the Clan next season? Does any names come to mind for you?
Well, if you're gonna get rid of a guy like Ryan Finnerty, who so knows the EIHL setup, knows the rigors of the season, and to Graeme's point, knows that if you lose a Scott Pitt last year or a Hammond this year, how tough that is to soldier on to win anything. So if you're going to lose a guy that knows the league inside out like that, I think that you've got to go totally outside the box, do something different, try and find somebody who hasn't done it before, maybe not use the old treadmill of coaches that we sometimes see in the Elite Ice Hockey League. So if I was the ownership there, if I was the general manager there, I'd be thinking totally outside the box. Gareth is pretty connected with his, he's a player agency business and all that. So I would imagine he would have already thought about some guys that are coaching in other Euro leagues that maybe would be new to the EIHL. Now, in saying that, I've probably totally way off base, and they'll hire someone that we all know from the EIHL. But for me, if it was my watch, I would say, well, if we're going to get rid of someone who's that experienced, who knows the league that well, who could, without bad luck, without injuries, could get us a league title, if we're going to go away from that when we had to go different outside the block and take another, or outside the box and take another path. So I would hope that they do something new and innovative rather than just recycling somebody, because I think if they're going to recycle somebody, then there's no one really out there that could be out of a job that's better than Ryan, that's already done the Elite League circuit.
So you're not going to give, you haven't got Paul Edie's phone number handy then, no?
Well, you know what? The reason I'm not saying Paul Adie is because I don't want to jinx him. I don't want to start any speculation because he is such a close friend and colleague. But I said there's no one better than Ryan. The only guy that I could think of that could to do the job that Ryan could do with the same hockey knowledge, the same hockey IQ, is Paul Adie. But Paul is the type of guy. He's very family centric. He's based in Nottingham. Would he want to uproot his family to Scotland? I know he's had offers over the last few years to go to Europe leagues, and he's got kids at a vital age with school, young starters in school and stuff like that. So I don't want to jinx him. I would imagine, knowing his relationship with the Black family, with Neil Black, that he would certainly be on the radar for Gareth and Neil. But I don't want to jinx him, and I think it would be something that they'd have to make a pretty good offer for him to want to leave his home base.
Yeah. See, I'm looking at Belfast, I'm looking at Cardiff, and I'm thinking to myself, is there scope for us to go back to a player coach? Because, let's face it, you can get a pretty damn good player who's going to take his first step onto the coaching ladder. And you have to be able to have that kind of position to offer him in the first place to get that quality. And I dare say, certainly, I think that's what's happened with Belfast with Derek Walser, and possibly Cardiff as well with Andrew Lord. Previously I was quite happy to move away from a player coach, but I think times have changed again, and I think in terms of bang for your buck, maybe that's a possible route to go down. The problem that I have with all of that personally, and I'm going to watch what I say here, is that both Cardiff and Belfast have a management structure which is strong enough to be able to give the support to that player coach. And the truth of the matter is, I don't think Clan are anywhere near that. So I don't know. I'm betwixt and between. I'd hope we at least maybe consider the player coach aspect. But on top of that, I joked, and I say joked. I joked on Twitter earlier on about Paul Gardner only because. I know some people will think of it as bad ancient history because it was the infamous season 3, but I still don't think we really saw what Paul Gardner, a man of his experience, would actually be capable of in this league. We know that he loved it here. It ended on a sour note, and as I say, he was taking charge of damaged goods as it was. He still managed to get that conference title, despite the fact it looked fairly unlikely. But as I say, that was a team that was already broken. I don't know. I've still got a little inkling to know how that might work out. But interesting to see how it turns out.
Oh, look, I mean, you look at, again, back to your point there about the player coach. I mean, again, with Gareth's ties to placing players in Europe through his agency and stuff like that, that could be a smart call on your part, because he might be able to lure a pretty marquee player with the same thing Belfast did to Walser. Walser played in the NHL. He still skates at that level. He was a DEL player and all that. So he comes here, but not because of big money, but with the chance to cut his teeth as a coach and play in a good building in a good city. So maybe that's something Gareth to look at to find somebody of a much higher standard skating wise and give him a chance to be, his first time as a head coach. So that's an interesting point. But I do hope they do think outside the box and do something new and innovative, because if they are just going to recycle an EIHL guy, like I said, it's tough to think of anyone better than Ryan, other than maybe, like you said, Paul 80, two guys that have done it before.
And I think as well as if you're going to try something new, I agree with you. What you guys are saying, it's got to be someone that's totally new, that's never done it before. And if the club opens himself up to that sort of player-coach option, well, the sort of sky's the limit.